Hello, hello, and welcome. Bum. Hey, what's going on? Okay, so once upon a time, I liked the thing from Blade Runner about the blood black nothingness and the tall white fountain. Turns out it's from a poem, and that poem is in this book. This book, and somebody hooked me up with this book, and it's been sitting around my place. And I guess the supposed author of the poem is a guy named Shade, and so that's where that's coming from. And so this book is sitting around my house and on the desk thing construction, and is in my head keeps popping this like uh you teach her the subject of schoolgirl fantasy. Right? And I don't know why that song keeps popping into my head. But then it turns out that's from a song, and there's a line in the song that says just like that book by Nabokov, which apparently is this guy. So this poem has got to be like deep mimetic mind control, several layers deep. But I'm gonna read it because well, I wanted to, and so this stream is that, and I'm gonna roll the savings throws for it, but you're gonna need them because this is deep mind control. So you get to choose between survival, social, wisdom, or heart is the basis for your savings throw. I roll it. If it's over 10, you take half damage from this power of mind control. If it's under 10, you take full damage. There's ways to get bonuses, as the people in the Hive Mind chat. But meanwhile, choose! Survivalist. That is a 9 for you. You can't see it, but it's a 9 for you. Disciples for the socialists. Lovers of wisdom with the number of transformation at an 11. And hard folks. I guess this Nabokov guy is going to get you. That's a 6. A 6 for you. Indigo folk. It's more than 2. More than 2. Okay. So now I'll take a couple minutes, and then we'll start the reading of the poem "In Pale Fire" by Vladimir Nabokov. After this short musical interlude. No, stop it. Is that how bad the sound is? Oh, my whatever. All right. Now this is already available on the Josh Dixon channel, but here's my reading of it, eh? Eh? Let's see. Uh, I was the shadow of the waxwing slain by the false azure in the window pane. I was the smudge of ashen fluff, and I lived on, flew on in the reflected sky. And from the inside, too, I'd duplicate myself, my lamp, an apple on a plate. Uncurtaining the night, I'd let dark glass hang all the furniture above the grass. And how delightful when a fall of snow covered my glimpse of lawn, and reached up so as to make chair and bed exactly stand upon that snow out in that crystal land. Retake the falling snow, each drifting flake, shapeless and slow, unsteady and opaque, a dull dark white against the day's pale white, and abstract larches in the neutral light, and then the gradual and dual blue as night unites the viewer and the view, and in the morning diamonds of frost express amazement whose spurred feet have crossed from left to right the blank page of the road, reading from left to right in winter's code, a dot and arrow pointing back, repeat, dot, arrow pointing back, a pheasant's feet, turquoited beauty, sublimated grouse, finding your china right behind my house. Was he in Sherlock Holmes, the fellow whose tracks pointed back when he reversed his shoes? All colors made me happy, even gray. My eyes were such that literally they took photographs whenever I'd permit, or with a silent shiver order it. Whatever in my field of vision dwelt, an indoor scene, hickory leaves, the svelte stilettos of a frozen stillicide, was printed on my eyelid's nether side, where it would tarry for an hour or two. And while this lasted, all I had to do was close my eyes to reproduce the leaves, or indoor scene, or trophies of the eaves. I cannot understand why from the lake I could make out our front porch when I'd take Lake Road to school. Why now, although no tree has intervened, I look but fail to see even the roof. Maybe some quirk in space has called a fold or furrow to displace the fragile vista, the frame house between Goldsworth and Wordsmith on its square of green. I had a favorite young shagbark there, with ample dark jade leaves and a black spare vermiculated trunk. The setting sun bronzed the black bark, around which, like undone garlands, the shadows of the foliage fell. It is now stout and rough, it has done well. White butterflies turn lavender as they pass through its shade, where gently seems to sway the phantom of my little daughter's swing. The house itself is much the same. One wing we've had revamped. There's a solarium. There's a picture window flanked with fancy chairs. TV's huge paperclip now shines instead of the stiff vein so oft visited by that naive and gauzy mockingbird, retelling all the programs she had heard, switching from chippo chippo to a clear tui tui, then rasping out, come here, come here, come here, flirting her tail aloft, or gracefully indulging in a soft upward hop flop, and instantly to we, returning to her perch, the new TV. I was an infant when my parents died. They were both ornithologists. I've tried so often to evoke them that today I have 1,000 parents. Sadly, they dissolve in their own virtues and recede. But certain words, chance words I hear or read, such as bad heart, always to him refer, and cancer of pancreas to her. A preterist, one who collects cold nests. Here was my bedroom, now reserved for guests. Here tucked away by the Canadian maid. I listened to the buzz downstairs and prayed for everybody to always be well. Uncles and aunts, the maid, her niece Adele, who'd seen the Pope, people in books, and God. I was brought up by my dear, bizarre Aunt Maud, a poet and a painter with a taste for realistic objects interlaced with grotesque growths and images of doom. She lived to hear the next babe cry. Her room we've kept intact, its trivia create a still life in her style, the paperweight of convex glass enclosing a lagoon, the verse book open at the index moon. Moonrise, more, moral, the forlorn guitar, the human skull, and from the local star, a curio, Red Sox beat Yanks 5-4. On Chapman's Homer, thumbtacked to the door, my God died young. Theolatry, I found, degrading, and its premises unsound. No free man needs a God, but was I free? How fully I felt nature glued to me, and how my childish palate loved the taste. Half fish, half honey, that golden paste. My picture book was at an early age, the painted parchment papering our cage. Mauve rings around the moon, blood orange sun, twinned iris, and that rare phenomenon, the iridule, when beautiful and strange, in a bright sky above a mountain range, one opal cloudlet in an oval form reflects the rainbow of a thunderstorm, which in a distant valley has been staged, for we are most artistically caged. And there's the wall of sound, the nightly wall, raised by a trillion crickets in the fall, impenetrable. Halfway up the hill, I'd pause in thrall of their delirious trill. That's Dr. Sutton's light, that's the Great Bear. 1,000 years ago, 5 minutes were equal to 40 ounces of fine sand. Outstare the stars, infinite foretime and infinite aftertime above your head. They close like giant wings, and you're dead. The regular vulgarian, I dare say, is happier. He sees the Milky Way only when making water. Then, as now, I walked at my own risk, whipped by the bough, tripped by the stump, asthmatic, lame, and fat. I never bounced a ball or swung a bat. I was the shadow of the waxwing slain by feigned remoteness in the window pane. I had a brain, 5 senses, one unique, but otherwise I was a cloutish freak. In sleeping dreams I played with other chaps, but really envied nothing save, perhaps, the miracle of a lemniscate left upon wet sand by nonchalantly deft bicycle tires. A thread of subtle pain, tugged at by playful death, released again, but always present, ran through me, one day, when I just turned 11, as I lay prone on the floor and watched a clockwork toy, a tin wheelbarrow pushed by a tin boy, bypass chair legs and stray beneath the bed. There was a sudden sunburst in my head, and then black night. That blackness was sublime. I felt distributed through space and time. 1 foot upon mountain top, one hand under the pebbles of a panting strand. One ear in Italy, one eye in Spain, in caves my blood, and in the stars my brain. There were dull throbs in my Triassic, green optical spots in upper Pleistocene, an icy shiver down my age of stone, and all tomorrows in my funny bone. During one winter, every afternoon, I'd sink into that momentary swoon, and then it ceased. Its memory grew dim. My health improved. I even learned to swim, but like some little lad forced by a wench, with his pure tongue her abject thirst to quench, I was corrupted, terrified, allured. And though old Dr. Colt pronounced me cured of what, he said, were mainly growing pains, the wonder lingers, and the shame remains. Reading poetry is kind of hard as balls, y'all. It's kind of hard as balls. I hope you're enjoying it anyway. There was a time in my demented youth when somehow I suspected that the truth about survival after death was known, to every human being. I alone knew nothing, and the great conspiracy of books and people hid the truth from me. There was a day when I began to doubt man's sanity. How could he live without knowing for sure what dawn, what death, what doom awaited consciousness beyond the tomb? And finally there was the sleepless night when I decided to explore and fight the foul and inadmissible abyss, devoting all my twisted life to this one task. Today I'm 61, wax wings are berry pecking, a cicada sings. The little scissors I am holding are a dazzling synthesis of sun and star. I stand before the window and I pare my fingernails and vaguely am aware of certain flinching likeness, the thumb, a grocer's son, the index lean and glum, college astronomer, star over blue, the middle fellow, a tall priest I knew, the feminine fourth finger, an old flirt, and little Pinky clinging to her skirt. And I make mouths as I snip off the thin strips of what Aunt Maud used to call scarf skin. Maud's shade was 80 when a sudden hush fell on her life. We saw the angry flush and torsion of paralysis assail her noble cheek. We moved her to Pinedale, famed for its sanitarium, where she'd sit in the glass sun and watch the fly that lit upon her dress and then upon her wrist. Her mind kept fading in the growing mist. Still she could speak. She paused and groped and found what seemed at first a serviceable sound, but from adjacent cells impostors took the place of words she needed, and her look spelt imploration as she sought in vain to reason with the monsters in her brain. What moment in the gradual decay does resurrection choose? What year? What day? Who has a stopwatch? Who rewinds the tape? Are some less lucky, or do all escape? A syllogism. Other men die, but I am not another, therefore I'll not die. Space is swarming in the eyes, and time a singing in the ears. In this hive I'm locked up. Yet, if prior to life we had been able to imagine life, what mad, impossible, utterly weird, wonderful nonsense it might have appeared. So why join in the vulgar laughter? Why scorn a hereafter none can verify? The Turk's delight, the future liars, the talks with Socrates and Proust in Cyprus walks, the seraph with his 6 flamingo wings, and Flemish hells with porcupines and things. Isn't that we dream too wild a dream. The trouble is we do not make it seem sufficiently unlikely, for the most we can think up is a domestic ghost. How ludicrous these efforts to translate into one's private tongue a public fate, instead of poetry divinely terse, disjointed notes, insomnia's mean verse. Life is a message scribbled in the dark. Anonymous. Espied on a pine's bark as we were walking home the day she died. An empty emerald case, squat and frog-eyed, hugging the trunk and its companion piece, a gum-logged ant. That Englishman in Nice, a proud and happy linguist, Je nourris les pauvres cigales, meaning that he fed the poor seagulls. La Fontaine was wrong. Dead is the mandible, alive is the song. And so I pare my nails and muse my hear your steps upstairs, and all is right, my dear. All right, that's enough for me tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to put a bookmark in it. Then upstairs I hear your steps, and all is right, my dear. Ah, remember, hey, Goose. Hey, Iggy. Oh, no, not that one. Here. Iggy, get out the way. Good night, everybody. Good night. Where is the StreamYards even? Jeez.